pledge, please.
Here. Mr. Crawford?
Here.
Mr. Knick?
Here.
Mr. Lawler?
Here.
Mr. Quinn?
Here.
Ms. Ricotta?
Here.
Mr. Salvo?
Here.
Dr. Serena?
Here. Superintendent's agenda?
Thank you, Dr. Sereno. Before my agenda, I'd like to introduce Mr. Joseph Alessini from Alessini Accountants and Consultants, who just completed our audit for the 1920 school year. If you'd like to come up and give us a report on your findings.
So what I'll do is I'll report on both. We'll go over a small portion about both. So from a financial standpoint, the school district had a general fund, total revenues did $53,000,505. Total expenditures were $50,571,000. Other expenses, other financing sources and uses were negative $1893, which had a net change in fund balance of a positive $720. So the fund balance at the beginning of the year started at $6.092 million and ended at $6.813 million. So what that is, that's the financial footprint of any type of governmental entity. So it's a good solid report there. So secondly, we have a portion that we do, like I said, on federal awards, and we also do it on compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. So we break it up into three different places in the compliance portion of it. So the first thing we did was on the financial statement side, on the internal controls of the financial reporting. You guys had that there was no findings on there was no material weaknesses that were identified, and there was also no significant deficiencies that were identified. There was also no non-compliance with any of the financial statements that we became aware of. So then we moved over to the federal awards portion of it. We looked at, again, the internal control over the federal awards and also compliance if there's any question costs. The internal controls over the major programs, there was no material weaknesses identified. Significant deficiencies, there was none. The type of audit report that was issued on the compliance was an unmodified opinion, which means that everything was true and correct within the financial statements. There was no conditions that wasn't. We also had an unmodified opinion on the financial statements overall, which again, an unmodified opinion is the best. The programs that we identified as major programs was the ESEA Title I grants, and also the child nutrition cluster. So we looked through those really up to 50 to 75% of the actual expenditures. Dollar threshold that we used to identify type A and B programs were $750,000, and the oddity Pittston School District was considered to be a low risk oddity, which means that we had a history of positive audit reports, so we were able to redo some of the testing. So like I said, overall, we had a good audit report. If you guys have any questions on it, I know there's a lot. There's a lot to look at one time. But if you have any questions, you want to come back, or if you want to call me, feel free to give me a call. Let's see. The other thing that we have, this is relatively new. We have to go over. We have to basically inform the board of how the audit went from a personnel standpoint. Was management cooperative? Was there any problems that went on? So I'm happy to say that we didn't have any conditions, no difficulties encountered during the audit. with either management or completing our audit. We have no disagreements with management consultants or any other accountants, and we have no other findings. So like I said, that's a new thing for this year. But like I said, if you guys do have any questions, you know, feel free to give me a call. That's all we have. Okay? All right, thanks guys, I appreciate it.
I would just like to publicly thank Mr. Alessini and his employees for their professional nature throughout all the audit. They were very easy to work with, and thank you for all your hard work. Before I begin, I'd like to just congratulate Kira Murphy, who has qualified for the All-State Concert Band. So, congratulations to Kira Murphy on a job well done, qualifying for the All-State Concert Band. Now my agenda. Under communications, C1, the communication received from the LIU number 18 enclosing copies of its meeting held on February 15th, 2021, be acknowledged as received and placed on file. That the communication received from the Wilkes-Barre Area Vocational Technical School of their meeting held on March 18th, that be acknowledged and placed on file. The abatements and additions received from Luzerne County Assessment Office be acknowledged as received and placed on file. C4, that the application for permit to use facilities be acknowledged as received, ratified where necessary, and approved. Under finance, F1, that the Title I Family Center for Child Development, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and all other federal programs and subsequent grants awarded for the 2021-2022 school year upon review and approval of the superintendent be forwarded to the Department of Education as required. F2, that the communications from the Director of Assessments, Luzerne County Board of Assessment Appeals, Assessor's Office, Wilkes-Barre, PA, requesting a refund of paid taxes be made to the following. We had 0 this month. Under general, that the Pittston Area School District single audit for the year ended June 30th, 2020 from Joseph R. Alessini and Company, Accountants and Consultants be acknowledged as received, approved, and placed on file. That the district's food service contract with Nutrition, Inc. be renewed for the 2021-2022 school year, and that the school calendar for 2021-2022 year be accepted and approved. With that being said, next year we are looking to have the first day of school be August 30th and graduation being June 3rd for next year. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Jeff. With that, I'd like to open the Pittston Area School District School Board meeting of Tuesday. Oh, we need public input, right? Any new business first, John?
Yes. Dr. Serino, I do have new business. I've been approached by several members of the Pittston Area track team who participated in the 70s and 80s. And I'm going to ask the board if we could possibly recognize former coaches Joe Costello, Joe Orlando, and Ray Calabrese. These former athletes were hoping that maybe the board would approve that they could put some type of a plaque down at the stadium near the track to honor these gentlemen. So if the board considers it and we approve it, we can let them know. This will be at no cost to the taxpayers. These gentlemen want to foot the bill for this. That's all I have, sir.
Anything from the Wilkes-Barre Technical Center?
No, basically is what all the school districts are doing. We're trying to put together a summer program up there. Being it's a vocational school, it's going to be a little harder to do, but we're going to target at least our 11th and 12th grade students up there and see if we can get them some additional help over the summer.
Thank you. Any public input, Jeff?
No. Before we begin, I apologize, Dr. Haas. He was supposed to go after Mr. Alessini. Dr. Haas is just going to go through it as Mr. Knick just talked about summer programming. We will be having our own summer program here at Pittston area, and Dr. Haas is just going to go through a few of the particulars for the public.
Thank you, Mr. Booth, and thank you to the Board of Education for allowing me to speak this evening. For people attending at home, there's a PowerPoint presentation on our webpage, on the district's homepage, under the title of Summer Programming, if you'd like to follow along, or if you'd like to look at it later. The goal of our summer programming is going to be to limit learning loss due to the COVID pandemic, and we're also looking to explore any avenues of unfinished learning that occurred in any of our grade levels, K through 12, and really give our students an opportunity to expand upon what challenges they faced throughout this school year and enrich their learning and recover credit throughout. Our program is in the planning phases, and as we plan, we have dates available at this time. We're going to begin July 12th, and we're going to end on August 5th. K through 12, we're going to run Monday through Thursday. In the K through 8 levels, it's going to look as a summer learning camp. The times will be from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. for our students, and from 8:30 a.m. till 12:30 for our teachers. In grades 7 through 12, our model is going to look more as a credit recovery and summer remediation and enrichment program. Currently, we have time scheduled for 2 sessions, one from 8:30 a.m. till 10:30 a.m., and session 2 from 10:45 till 12:45. However, we're also exploring with Mr. Lezevnik and Mr. Barnick, so to accommodate more of our upper level learners, some varied times to accommodate their summer needs as well. So times will be coming out on that through surveys as we look to accommodate all our students' needs, or as many as possible. To begin with our summer learning camp, the goal again is going to be to help narrow the learning gaps and address any unfinished learning due to the disruption caused by COVID-19. It's going to be open to all students in grades K through 8, and our curriculum emphasis is going to be on literacy skills, math skills, and we're going to be promoting social and emotional wellness throughout all of our programming. Along with that, I think our kids are well overdue for some much needed fun. So as we go through our summer plan, we're going to be looking to add arts and crafts, games, and physical activities and embed them through our programming throughout the summer. The summer learning camp for K through 8, again, we're going to be addressing that unfinished learning in the curriculum and the learning loss. We're going to be looking at identifying that through K1, our linked data that our teachers have been accruing throughout this school year. In grades 2 through 4, we're going to be looking at our iReady data, and the units are going to be constructed by our own Pittston area teachers throughout the upcoming months, and they will be given by our teachers throughout the summer months. In math, we're going to be using that same kind of data set through our Link It and iReady programs, and the units will again be teacher constructed, and they will be part of our Pittston area K through 4 curriculum. That summer learning that I talked about, those fun activities, talking with our K1 teachers already, they have many ideas for varied units throughout the summer, and they're very excited, as well as our intermediate center teachers. We're going to be focusing on adding STEM and embedding those activities throughout the learning units so our kids can get some more education in the sciences and mathematic fields. At the high school, obviously, it's going to look different. We're going to be looking at summer credit recovery for any of our students that were impacted through COVID, for recovering credits to make sure that they are still on pace towards graduation. That credit recovery will be fully aligned with our Pittston area curriculum and to the PDE standards as we go forward. The same theme, we're going to be looking to identify that learning loss and any unfinished learning that occurred through the pandemic. But most importantly, as we stated with the upper level learners, we want to make sure that they are able to recover their credits this summer free of charge in order to be on pace for graduation. Throughout that, we had a social emotional learning day last month. We're going to be looking to embed those activities throughout daily lessons and make sure that we're looking after the needs of our students as well. A second option for our 7 through 12 students will be summer remediation and enrichment, where they volunteer even if they pass the course, but feel they may want to enhance their learning for the upcoming year. We're going to provide those opportunities for our students as well. The good news is transportation will be provided at all levels throughout the summer. Bus routes will be planned as we know the needs of our students, and we will be doing that building-wide at each level. There will be a bus survey as part of the registration, and that will be coming up in the near future. Also, we will have full cafeteria service for our students as the pandemic will allow throughout the summer for these days. All students will be provided a breakfast and lunch free of charge throughout the summer. As we're going, this is the beginning phases of the plan. Tonight is just a snapshot of where we are at this time, and we're going to continue with the planning. Right now, we have a strong interest from our staff, and I just want to commend our building level principals, our coordinators, and our teachers for the early support we have behind this. It's just true to what our Patriot Pride is all about. So I'm very confident with the teamwork that we do have that we're going to have a great product for our community this summer. We'll be building our registration plan through the months of mid-May and mid-June and trying to get an idea of our numbers so we can progress and make sure we have all the resources needed to run this program successfully. And throughout, we're going to continue to communicate via Schoology, Skyward, and School Messenger. And as always, in our communities, we have great building leadership at each level. If you have any questions throughout or any ideas, you can contact your building level principals, or you can reach out to myself with any questions about our summer programming. So stay tuned, and you will be receiving more information in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ross.
Any public input? If not, we'll move on to the regular meeting. The Pittston Area School District School Board meeting, Tuesday, April 20th, 2021, will be called to order. Roll call?
Mr. Anizio?
Present.
Dr. Cooper? Here. Mr. Crawford? Here. Mr. Knick?
Here.
Mr. Lawler?
Here.
Mr. Quinn? Here. Ms. Ricotta? Here. Mr. Salvo?
Here.
And Dr. Sereno.
Here. The board met in executive session on Thursday, April 8th, 2021 at 5 p.m. and Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 at 5 in the library of the Pittston Area High School for the purposes of discussing personnel. I'd now like to take a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 16th, 2021. Motion?
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sereno.
Yes. The communications, that the communications C1 through C4 as presented by the superintendent be acknowledged as received, accepted, and placed on file and approved where noted. Roll call? A motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sereno.
Yes. The finance, that F1 and F2 be approved as so presented. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sereno.
Yes. I'd like to accept a motion that G1 and G3 be approved. Motion?
Second.
Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Sereno.
Yes. The personnel, that P1 through and including P5 be accepted and approved.
Motion.
Second. Mr. Anizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Ricotta?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
and Dr. Serena.
Yes. P6, that Deborah Soda be appointed to the position of part-time custodial care aide as per contractual agreement. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Nizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Rekoda?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serena.
Yes. Entertain a motion that P7 be accepted and approved as so presented.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Nizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Rekoda?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serena.
Yes. To accept a motion that personnel P8 be accepted and approved. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Nizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Rekoda?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serena.
Yes. Under finance and business reports, a motion that finance and business reports FP1 through FP6 for the month of March 2021 be accepted as presented and filed. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Nizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Rekoda?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serena.
Yes. Any new business from any of the board members?
I'd just like to add to what Mr. Anizio mentioned before. I'd like to make a motion to give them gentlemen the go-ahead to construct their plaque or whatever they want to put down at the track.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Mr. Nizio?
Yes.
Dr. Cooper? Yes. Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Knick?
Yes.
Mr. Lawler?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Ms. Rekoda?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
And Dr. Serena.
Yes. Any public input? If not, accept a motion to adjourn with the next Pittston Area School Board of Directors will be held, the next meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 6 p.m. with an exec session starting at 5 p.m. for the purpose of discussing personnel. Motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.